Hello everybody and welcome back to the hidden breach in our second battle report. Today it's going to be Ulix versus Shenlong, the Swineherd and his trusty pigs versus the Kung Fu monks. Today you are witnessing a grudge match because last time this game was played around here it did not go well for Ulix and his pigs. And with nothing further to say, we are jumping into the Crewselection and the scenario right now. The scenario setup for this game is Symbols of Authority for strategy, and we play CornerDeployment. Our schemes are Breakthrough, Detonate Charges, Let Them Bleed, Outflank, and Bait and Switch. Crew select Attacker first. Stefan plays Ulix as his master, with Penelope the totem. He plays Old Major as his henchman, the Enforcer Gracie, the Enforcer the Sow, a Swankhurst with the upgrade 12 cups of coffee, 1 Slowpoller, and 2 piglets. He takes 4 Soulstones into the game. I play Shenlong, the 2 aspiring students, his henchman Sensei Yu, 1 Charm Warder, 1 High River Monk, 1 Low River Monk, 2 Wandering River Monks with the upgrade Trained Ninja. Now you will see the schemes, so if you don't want to know which we have taken, close your eyes for a moment. Today's terrain, we have 2 forests, like 1 forest and 1 little graveyard. They are played as concealing dense and severe terrain. We got the river flowing through our map. The whole area of the river is played as severe terrain, all for exception of the bridges and the stepping stones. Bridges are height 1 blocking. The little brushes there are played as height 2 destructible terrain. Got 2 houses, the lake house and the pig farm with the fence. Houses are played as height 4 impassable blocking terrain. Then we got the lake, played as severe terrain. All rocks are played as height 3 blocking climbable. And the big rocks are height 4 blocking climbable. Then we get our gallows, height 2 blocking. And then we got the dump site near the pig farm. It's impassable terrain. All trees are concealing impassable. And the scattered terrain like crates and benches, desks are height 1 destructible. And that's the overview. Stefan is going to start at the pig farm as he should, and I will start at the graveyard. We placed all the symbols of authority. Got this little target practice figures for my side. 1 behind of the lake house. 1 on the graveyard and 1 behind the gallows. And Stefan's symbols are the bunnies. 1 is sitting in the forest. 1 is behind the dumping site. 1 is next to the pig farm. And the last one is sitting behind the brush in the river. Stefan started to deploy. Deployed Old Major, the Sow, Piglet, and the Slowpoller. I deployed all of my crew. I have Wandering River Monk on each flank. and everything else is huddled up in the middle, right at the edge of my deployment zone. And the rest of Stefan's crew joined. Crazy Ulix and the Swankhurst are standing beside Old Major, and another piglet is beside the sow now. Penelope is going to join via from the shadows later. These are the cards for the Shenlong crew. And these are the cards for the Ulix crew before and after Stefan stoned. Penelope appears out of the shadows on top of the hill. Initiative flip. I win and decide that he should begin. Nobody gets a pass token. He starts with Old Major, who drops a ski marker and then takes a walk action. I react with a High River Monk, who gets a cheat token, uses his risky maneuver bonus action to push 3 inches, get a focus and suffer 1 damage, then takes a walk action and concentrates for a second focus. Then the Slop Hauler goes, drops a ski marker and concentrates. I activate the Aspiring Student number 1, who gets a cheat token, and then starts hitting Shenlong with his broom. Defense is staff for versus defense, 1/1/2 damage and distracted +1. Shenlong relents for the first time, and I get weak damage. And Shenlong relents for the second time, and I get again weak damage. So Shenlong has now 2 damage and distracted +2. Then the sow starts birthing piglets. For the first piglets, Stefan has to cheat 7. And the second piglet goes off just fine. Then I activate Shenlong, who attaches the Wandering River style upgrade. Both of my Wandering River monks gain a focus. Then Shenlong takes a walk action and targets Sensei Yu with the 4 winds punch. Sensei Yu relents and is pushed 6 inches. Then Shenlong uses his bonus action, the dragon commands it. On Sensei Yu, I have to cheat in a 10. Sensei Yu can do a bonus action or interacts and uses his simple lesson on the High River Monk to take a cheat token from the High River Monk to make him fast. Then Shenlong concentrates for another cheat token. Little Piglet goes, walks up and destroys the fence. The Aspiring Student number 2 gains a cheat token, walks forward and uses his bonus action following in his footsteps for the 4 winds punch on Sensei Yu again. Sensei Yu relents and gets pushed 6 inches, and I forget 1 AP. Then Ulix activates and uses Grow Up Strong on the first piglet to make him into a squealer. Has to cheat in a 9. The squealer pushes 2 inches. For the second piglet, has to cheat in a 9 of tomes. 9 of tomes is the some pig trigger, so he can take the hurt him action. Tries to hurt him and has to cheat in a 9. The squealer moves 5 inches. The third piglet turns into a squealer without cheating. I activate the Charm Warder, who takes a double walk action and then uses his bonus action for shouting orders from Sensei Yu's aura to gain a focus. Gracie activates and walks forward. Ulix hitches a ride to stand beside her. Then she uses Ride With Me and the squealer rides along. She uses her last AP for a concentrate action to gain a focus. Then I go with Sensei Yu, who uses his bonus action Simple Lesson on the Charm Warder to remove a cheat token and give him fast. Then he takes a walk action up to the bridge and uses his Wind Blast skill for 1, 3, 4 damage and a 3-inch push away from him on Old Major, but draws the Black Joker. The Swankhurst then goes, moves up and concentrates for a focus. The Low River Monk takes a double walk action and is done with his activation. Then Penelope goes and hurts some pigs. She first hurts the piglet on the upper side of the screen, which works out, and the slop hauler hitches a ride, so they go 5 inches together. Then she uses her inbuilt reposition trigger to reposition herself, and then she tries a herdem on the swine cursed and draws the black joker. I activate my first wandering river monk, who takes a double walk action and then draws a lucky card to take a cheap leap into the trees. Then Stefan activates the squealer, who takes a double move, gets reckless and destroys the underbrush. And my second wandering river monk tries to leap, fails, and takes a double move action. Summary round 1. All of my monks stormed forward towards the bridge. Sensei Yu is holding the bridge in the middle, waiting for everything there's yet to come. Got one wandering river monk on my left flank. Pigs left the farm, more or less. The sow is still giving birth on the home turf. And I think we are expecting a big brawl in the middle. And some of the summoned pigs are heading along his left flank. And now we see the deadly pursuit pushes of my wandering river monks. One's going there, and the other one is going towards the symbol of authority. Round 2 went as follows. Cards for the Shenlong crew and cards for the Ulix crew. Initiative flip, I draw the red joker and decide to start. I activate the wandering river monk, who leaps. I cheat in a 10 of masks and he leaps, and then he charges the squealer. He uses his attack and a focus. We draw to 14 to 8. Stefan cheats to 14 to 16, and I cheat to 17 to 16 with the inner peace trigger, which allows me to concentrate again. Straight flip for damage. I draw weak and cheat in severe, which kills the squealer, who dies and becomes bacon for a scheme marker. Last but not least, the wandering river monk takes another walk action. Stefan activates Gracie, who does right with me, which works out, and the squealer tags happily along. Then she charges Sensei Yu, uses Stampede to damage him and herself by 1, and then he uses Tusks with focus. We end at 19 to 11 with double crit strike and a plus flip for damage. Stefan draws moderate, which is 6 damage. I stone for 1 damage reduction. And Stefan decides to do it again. We end at 16 to 8. I invest a chi token and an 11 to go to 16 to 18. And he red jokers me for 19 to 18, again with double crit strike due to Old Mage's Aura. He again draws moderate damage on the straight flip. And I, for some reason, waste a Soulstone, reducing the damage by 2. But Sensei Yu stays on hard to kill at 1 health point. And for some reason, Stefan does decide to not go reckless at this point. I immediately activate Sensei Yu, and he uses his bonus action Juggernaut to discard a card and heal 1 to 4, which heals him for 2 damage. And then he uses Hurricane Punch on Gracie. We end at 15 to 11. I use the inbuilt Good for Love trigger, do moderate damage, which is reduced to 1 by the armor. I draw 2 cards, discard a card, and then I do it again for 14 to 13, the same trigger. I draw severe damage on a minus flip, which is reduced by 2, and then I draw 2 cards and discard a card, leaving Gracie at 4 health at this point. The squealer goes, drops a scheme marker, and moves. Then the low river monk goes, drops a scheme marker, and uses healing energy on Shenlong, healing Shenlong by 2. Then the sow goes and gives birth to 1 piglet, then drops a scheme marker, uses reckless to gain 1 damage and fast, and gives birth to another piglet. I activate the High River Monk, who takes a walk action, drops a ski marker, takes another walk action, and then discards a card for Shouting Orders Monk to gain another chi token. Stefan activates Penelope, who tries to hurt some piglets, which works out. The piglet takes a walk action, Penelope uses her reposition trigger, and then she hurts Gracie again. He has to cheat in an 8 for it to work, and she uses Tusks on Sensei U. We end up at 13-8 in my favor, and I invest another chi token for 15-8 just to stay safe. I activate the Aspiring Student number 1, who uses Following in his footsteps for the 4 Winds punch on Shenlong. Shenlong relents, gets pushed 6 inches towards the river, and then the Aspiring Student takes a walk action. The Swankhurst goes, walks, Ulix hitches a ride, and then the Swankhurst takes a concentrate action for a second focus. I activate the Wandering River Monk on my left flank, use an interact to pick up the first symbol, then he tries to leap. I have to cheat in the 5 of Masks to leap, and then he uses a second AP to walk. Stefan activates a piglet, which moves and then concentrates. I play a pass token, which causes Stefan to activate Ulix. He tries to proper care, but fails heroically, decides not to cheat it, and then uses Grow Up Strong. He wants the first piglet to grow into a wild boar, needing a 12, and he has to cheat in that 12 to make it work. Then he wants the Squealer to grow into a wild boar 2, which works out, and then he uses a Herdem on Gracie, who, unsurprisingly, uses Tusks on Sensei U. We end at 10-9. I cheat to 10-11, and then Stefan cheats to 14-11 in his favor. Gracie does weak damage, and I stone for 1 damage, leaving Sensei U at 2 health. I activate the Aspiring Student, who moves, uses Following in his footsteps and the 4 Winds punch on the Charm Warder. The Charm Warder relents and gets pushed with the bow ski markers towards the bridge and the melee. Then the Wild Boar goes and uses 3 move actions, going reckless after the second AP to walk around the river towards my deployment zone. Then I activate the Charm Warder, who does a double walk to stand atop of the terrain, uses his chi blades on the Wild Boar, both use focus, and I draw the Black Joker, and then he tries to use his bonus action, Chaos Theory, which fails. Stefan activates the Slop Hauler, who moves and drops a ski marker. Then I activate Shenlong, who attaches the Fermented River style, charges Gracie, and uses the Falling Rave Kick on her. I get a plus flip because I'm distracted, and we end up at 19-16. Gracie takes 3 damage, reduced to 1 by armor, and I get to place beside her. Then Shenlong uses Fury of the Dawn at Gracie and gets a plus for distracted again. We end up at 15-8, and I do weak damage. Then Shenlong uses his bonus action, the Dragon Commands It, on the Charm Warder, which works. The Charm Warder uses Chaos Theory, which works, and I declare that every enemy model within 5 inches has to draw 2 cards, and whenever it draws a ram, it takes 2 damage. So, no damage, the Wild Boar takes 2 damage, and miraculously nobody else takes any damage. And then Shenlong uses his last AP to concentrate for a focus. Summary turn 2. Monks all left their home turf towards the middle. We got a big old melee up on the bridge with Shenlong, Sensei Yu, Gracie, a Charm Warder, and the Wild Boar. Old Major Ulix and the Swankhurst are cheering their own folk on right at the moment. The Wild Boar there in the middle is the last one that's not been summoned, so the last one to be able to interact with the symbols of authority. One of the Wild Boars is going towards my deployment zone. I got one of the Wandering River Monks there. Rest of the pigs are happily multiplying on the farm. Points wise, I picked up one symbol of authority, so I get 1 point for the strategy. And I want to reveal my first scheme, which is Detonate Charges. Yeah. So right now the score is 2-0. Round 3. You see the hand cards of the Shenlong crew and the hand cards of the Ulix crew. Initiative flip, Stefan wins and decides after a bit of hard thinking that he wants to start. He activates Ulix, who uses proper care. He has to cheat for it to go off, and the Wild Boar and Gracie heal too. Then he uses Grow Up Strong on the Wild Boar to grow it into a War Pig. Needing an 8, needs to cheat in a 9 to grow a War Pig. Then he uses a Herdem on the War Pig, who uses his huge tusks versus Shenlong. It's 6 versus defense for 3, 4, 6 damage. We end at 15-15. I spend a cheat token to go 17-15, and then he cheats for 19-17. The resulting minus flip goes for moderate 4 damage, and I use Soulstone to reduce the damage and flip severe, so I just take 1. Then he uses a Herdem on Gracie, who uses her tusk against Sensei Yu. We end up at 16-8, and he does weak damage, damaging Sensei Yu by 2 and putting him on hard to kill again. I, for some reason, activate the Jump Warder, who first uses his Chaos Theory. I name Crows as the appropriate suit, and it goes as follows. Penelope takes 2 damage, Old Major is fine, Ulix takes 2 damage, the War Pig takes 2 damage, and Gracie is fine. He uses his first real AP to cast Jinx on the War Pig. That's 6 versus willpower. We end at 7-5. He cheats for a 15 and the action fails. And I do Jinx again, ending at 16-14 with the Shady Dealings trigger. I do 1 damage and give the War Pig injured +1, and he has to discard his last hand card. He activates the Swankhurst, who wants to do a heroic intervention, which fails, and then wants to do a heroic intervention and red jokers epically. He pushes the War Pig out of the way, pushes the Swankhurst in, and does tasks using his focus against Shenlong, but ultimately fails 10-13. Then he uses Mark Territory from the 12 Cups of Coffee upgrade as his bonus action, succeeds, and takes away a ski marker for a focus. I activate the Low River Monk, who takes a walk action and then heals Sensei Yu. I draw Severe, healing Sensei Yu by 3 up to 4 health. And then the Low River Monk uses Shouting Orders for a bonus action, discarding a card to gain another cheat token. Gracie activates and uses Tusks against Sensei Yu, failing 7-17, doing Tusks again, and draws the Black Joker. And then she goes Reckless and does it again, ending at 13-8, which is a straight flip because of Old Mage's aura. And he draws severe damage, damaging Sensei Yu by 5. Sensei Yu stays alive due to hard to kill, and Gracie uses the Tear of a Bite trigger to heal by 2. Then I go and activate Sensei Yu, who uses Juggernaut to discard a card and heal 1-4, and I draw the Red Joker to heal 5, up to 6 health again. Then he uses his Hurricane Punch against Gracie. I cheat, so I get 15-12. I use the Good for Love trigger to draw 2 cards and discard a card at a weak damage, which is reduced by armor to 1. And then he does it again, and we end at 12-12. Double minus flip, I do weak damage again, and draw 2 cards and discard a card. He activates the War Pig, who does a triple walk action around the lake and towards the Symbol of Authority. Then I activate the High River Monk, who first takes a walk action, then does a risky maneuver, which doesn't give him a focus because he's at focus +2 already, and then he charges into the Squealer. He uses his Flaming Fury attack action and a focus to hit the Squealer. We end up at 13-18, and I spent a cheat token and cheat in an 11 to go to 19-18, which gives me a straight flip, resulting in severe damage of 4 and burning +1. I discard a card for Flurry because I don't want the Squealer to survive. And we end up at 19 to 8, giving me a plus flip, ending in severe damage, killing the Squealer, who goes Demise Bacon again and becomes a scheme marker. The Slop Hauler goes, charges the High River Monk, uses Slop him up. We end up at 18 to 16, and he does weak damage of 2 and gives me Adversary. He tries again, but fails. I activate Shenlong. Shenlong applies the Wandering River style to himself, which gives all my Wandering River monks a focus, and then he uses Fury of the Dawn on Gracie. I use a Soulstone for ramps and a focus. We end up at 11 to 8. I declare the aggressive Chi trigger, which allows me to do irreducible damage. The straight flip cuffs up 2 damage weak, and I cheat to moderate for some reason, which doesn't do a damn for me at this point because she's hard to kill. Then I use Fury of the Dawn again. We end at 18 to 17, and I draw moderate damage on a minus flip, finally killing Gracie. Then Shenlong tries to Fury of the Dawn the Swine Cursed, but it doesn't work out, and he can't use his bonus action due to distraction from the Swine Cursed 12 cups of coffee. Stefan activates the Sow, who takes a walk action and then charges the High River Monk. He uses Tusks against the High River Monk, and both use their focus. We end up at 13 to 10, and I use a cheat token and cheat in a 9 to make it 13 to 16. Then the Sow goes Reckless, and it does it again. We end up at 15 to 14, and I invest my last cheat token to make it 16 to 15 in my favor, at which point Stefan starts to make rude gestures at me. I activate the Aspiring Student, who takes a walk action and uses Following in his footsteps to make the 4 Winds Punch on the Low River Monk. The Low River Monk relents and gets pushed 6 inches. Stefan activates Old Major, who takes a walk action and then the interact action to drop a scheme marker. I play a pass token, and he activates a Piglet, who does a double walk. I play my second pass token, and he activates another Piglet, who does a double walk. Then I activate the Wandering River Monk, who tries to leap over the terrain, but fails, and then uses a Destroy Terrain action to destroy the lorry, and then takes a walk action. Penelope activates and uses a Herd 'em on the Sow. The Sow then goes and uses her Tusk versus the High River Monk, and I draw the Black Joker, leaving us at a total of 14 to 5 in favor of the Sow. He draws severe damage on the straight flip, and the High River Monk finally dies. Then Penelope uses Herd 'em on the Piglet, and the Piglet charges Shenlong, but fails the attack 5 to 15. I activate my second Wandering River Monk, who takes up the symbol, takes a walk action towards the middle, and then makes a lucky leap again, top decking like a pro. Stefan activates the Wild Boar near my deployment zone, who then takes a walk action and drops a scheme marker. And my Aspiring Student number 2 uses a walk action and then uses the 4 Winds Punch on the Low River Monk, who relents and gets pushed another 6 inches. Summary, turn 3. Got 1 Wild Boar with a scheme marker in my deployment zone. Low River Monk and the Aspiring Student are on intercept course right now. Wondrously, one of the war pigs has detached himself from the big melee and is heading towards the first symbol of authority for Stefan. The brawl in the middle is ongoing, although Gracie sadly died at this point, and the Wandering River Monk has done his job over on the flank and walked towards the middle, and I've lost the High River Monk to the Sow and the Slop Hauler. Already got another Wandering River Monk standing beside one of the symbols of authority. That's the overview of the board. Points wise this round, I picked up another symbol, so I got 2 points for the strategy. And Stefan is now going to declare 2 schemes. His first scheme is Detonate Charges, which he gets because he has 2 scheme waters within 2 inches of the charm water, and he has Breakthrough scored with a Wild Boar and the scheme marker. So the current score is 3 to 2 for the 10 Thunders. So we went into round 4. Here you see Shenlong's hand cards. I used the stone at this point, to improve my cards to this hand. And there you see Ulix hand cards. Initiative flip. 2 to 13, I lose. I decide to cheat, because I got a pass token, I get to 14 to 13, and I decide to start. I activate Shenlong, who attaches the High River style to himself. He tries out his new Flaming Dragon Kick on the Swinehurst, 13 to 18, and I cheat to 19 to 18, doing weak damage. Swinehurst takes 3 damage, reduces through sturdy critters by 2, takes 1 damage, and burning +2. Then I use Fury of the Dawn and use a Soulstone for mask trigger. The Swinehurst uses his focus. We start out at 9 to 11. I use a cheat token to bring it to 11 to 11. He cheats to 17 to 11, and I finally cheat to 18 to 17. I get a minus flip for my trouble and do weak damage. Then I do the onslaught attack and fail 14 to 17. Then I do Fury of the Dawn again and draw the red joker, putting us at 20 to 15. I use a cheat token to put the total to 22 to 12. Out of poor judgment, I use the onslaught trigger instead of the aggressive cheat trigger. I get a straight flip, do moderate damage, cheat in severe. He sturdy critters for -2 and takes 3 damage. Then I do the onslaught attack. We start at 9 to 15. I use a cheat token and cheat in a 9 for 17 to 15. And he cheats in a 12, and so my attack fails. And the Swinehurst is still alive for some reason. Then you activate Ulix, who uses proper care, so the Swinehurst and Penelope heal both too. Then he uses Grow Up Strong on the Piglet, wanting to make it into a wild boar. He has to cheat in a 12, and then the new wild boar pushes 2 inches. He uses Grow Up Strong on the next Piglet, wanting it to grow into a squealer, and has to cheat in another card to make it into a squealer. He has the Hurt 'em trigger and passes his Hurt 'em target number. The squealer uses Projected Voice onto Shenlong, and for some reason we forget the friendly fire modificator at this point. So we end up 16 to 7 with the Ruptured Ears trigger. He has a straight damage flick ending in weak damage, 2 damage, distracted +1. Then he uses Hurt 'em on the squealer, which shouldn't be possible because you can only use it once per activation on the same model. But the squealer uses his Projected Voice and fails 6 to 17 against Shenlong. Then Sensei Yu activates, uses his Wind Blast on the Swinehurst, winning 12 to 9, resulting in a minus flip and doing severe damage of 4, killing the Swinehurst. At this point the Swinehurst turns into a piglet, because I forget the Lantern of Lost Souls the Charm Water has. So that's an illegal piglet right there, but who cares. Then Yu uses his Simple Lesson on the Wandering River Monk, discarding a cheat token from him and making him fast. Next he uses his Wind Blast on Old Major, winning out 20 to 14, resulting in a minus flip due to Hard to Wound, and doing 1 damage, pushing Old Major from the rocks. Stefan activates a Wild Boar, who drops a ski marker, walks, and then takes a charge action into the Low River Monk and the Aspiring Student. Wild Boar uses Stampede to give them both and himself 1 damage, and then uses his Tusk versus the Low River Monk. He wins out 12 to 4 because I draw the Black Joker, and ends up doing moderate damage for 4. The Low River Monk dies, and the Wild Boar heals 2 due to his Tear of a Bite trigger. I play Pass token. Stefan continues with a Slop Hauler, who takes a walk action and tosses Slop at the Wandering River Monk. The Wandering River Monk uses Focus and wins out the duel 12 to 7. Then the Wandering River Monk uses his Butterfly Jump to position himself into the corner at the rocks. I activate the Charm Water. He uses his bonus action Chaos Theory. I name Masks as a suit for everyone to take 2 damage per discarded card, and Stefan starts to discard cards. Penelope is fine. Old Major takes 2 damage. Ulix is fine. The Piglet is fine, I guess, because we don't know how to handle the Red Joker. I think he can choose, but also it counts as all suits, so I'm not sure at this moment. And the Squealer's fine. Then the Charm Water charges into the Squealer and attacks him, ending in 15 to 6, and a straight flip doing moderate damage of 3, and then he attacks again, ending 16 to 8 with Exorcism trigger, and doing once again moderate of 3. Squealer would have died to the Exorcism trigger anyway, as it was a summoned model, and the Lantern of Souls, which I finally remember, prevents a ski marker drop. Then the Sow activates and does a triple walk with Reckless along the river towards the next symbol of authority. I activate my first aspiring student, who uses following in his footsteps to imitate the Flaming Dragon Kick versus the White Boar. I draw 7, he draws to 9, and I use my Chi token to go to 9 to 9, resulting in a double negative flip. I do weak damage of 3 and burning +2, and then he starts to use his defensive staff, hitting the pig repeatedly over the head with his broom. I start out by 5 to 6 with a fail, and the next attack hits 14 to 8, and the straight flip nets me 1 damage and distracted +1. He activates Oath's Major, takes a walk action, and then hits the Charm Water, 16 to 13, negative flip, weak damage of 3. My second aspiring student does a double walk action to intercept the Sow. Penelope activates, tries to hurt Old Major and fails, repositions and tries to hurt a piglet and fails. The first Wandering River Monk tries to leap, which initially fails, but I got the 5 of Masks on my hand all along, so I cheated in, and he jumps over the Slowpolar, takes a double walk action and picks up the third symbol for the third point of the strategy. Then Stefan activates the War Pig, who moves, picks up a symbol, turns reckless and makes another walk action. I play Pass Token, Stefan activates a Piglet, who tries to eat the Charm Water. First attack draws the Black Joker and fails. Second attack goes 11 to 11. I use a Chi token for 11 to 13, and so the second attack fails too. And the Piglet turns reckless and hits 17 to 11, getting a plus flip from the Old Major aura, netting him just the 1 damage from weak, and he uses the Grab On trigger to give the Charm Water slow. I play another Pass Token. The Wild Boar activates, takes a walk action, and charges into the Charm Water using his Tusks, failing 9 to 12, and then he turns reckless, using his Tusks again, wins out 11 to 8, and does 4 damage due to a straight flip from Old Major's auras, and the Charm Water finally dies. I activate my second Wandering River Monk, who tries to leap, fails, and then has to walk up and drop a ski marker. Summary turn 4, we got Dead Pursuit pushes, 1 for the War Pig, and 1 Wandering River Monk going this way, and another Wandering River Monk going that way. The low River Monk died. The Wild Boar is in epic battle with the aspiring student, although there's a War Pig coming, so I don't favor the aspiring student right now. The Sow is trying to pick up another symbol of authority, and the aspiring student is trying to body block it. Got the melee in the middle. Charm Water died. Swine Curse died. And yeah, got an illegal Piglet joining the fight, but whatever. Battle in the middle is going in favor of the Sui crew. Got my 2 Wandering River Monks in his deployment zone, ready to do whatever they want to do there, I guess. Points wise, I got a 3rd symbol of authority. And Stefan picked up his first symbol of authority for 1 point in the strategy. And my second scheme is Breakthrough. So the current score is 5 to 3 for the 10 Thunders right now. Final round is on. Here you see the 10 Thunders cards. I use a Soulstone at this point to upgrade my cards to this hand. And then you see the Bayou's side cards. And Stefan decides to also use a Soulstone to give himself this hand. Initiative flip. He just red jokers me in the face and decides that he wants to begin. I get 3 pass tokens at this point. He activates the Sow, who does a double move, gets reckless and picks up his second symbol. I activate Shenlong, who attaches the Wandering River style to himself to give the Wandering River monks more focus, then takes a walk action, does the Dragon Commands It of Sensei Yu, who doesn't interact, and then does 4 winch punch targeting Sensei Yu. Sensei Yu relents and get pushed 6 inches towards the action with the marker. His last action Shenlong uses for concentrate. Then the Wild Boar goes, uses his tusks onto the Inspiring Student, gets a minus flip for distracted and fails with 9 to 15. Then he does it again, hitting 13 to 5, getting a straight flip, resulting in weak damage and the death of the Aspiring Student. Then he gets reckless and drops a ski marker. Sensei Yu activates and Hurricane punches Old Major in the face. We get to 12 to 13. I spend a cheat token for 14 to 13. Then he cheats for 14 to 15, and then finally I cheat for 16 to 15. Double negative flip due to his Hard to Wound, and hit moderate damage for 3. I draw 2 cards and discard a card. Then Sensei Yu uses his own shouting orders to give himself a focus, and then hits Old Major again. 15 to 16, but I cheat to 19 to 16, choosing Critical Strike for a trigger, with a single negative doing weak damage for 3, and Stefan uses his last Soulstone, reducing the damage to 0. Then Old Major activates, uses his marked territory to get rid of my marker, and then uses Nudge him onto the Wild Boar, which goes off and the Wild Boar pushes away. Then he uses his huge tusks on Sensei Yu, 7 to 8, he cheats to 16 to 8, gets a straight flip, does weak damage of 3. I play a pass token. The Warpick activates, does a double walk action and drops a ski marker with Reckless. I play another pass token, so the Wild Boar activates, moves around Shenlong and drops a ski marker. I use another pass token. He activates Ulix, who takes a walk action and drops another ski marker. At this point we talk it through and we decline to do all activations but my 2 Wandering River monks, so let's go over there. The first Wandering River monk interacts to drop a ski marker, tries to leap but fail. At this point I cheat in a 4 of mask and spend a cheat token to make the target number and do a leap. Then he interacts to pick up the last symbol for the 4th strategy point. Then the second Wandering River monk goes, drops a ski marker, tries to leap, fails. I cheat a 10 of mask and he leaps and drops a 3rd ski marker into Stefan's deployment zone. Summary: turn 5 and end of game. Right now it's 5 to 3. Both of us picked up one of the symbols of authority, so I got 4 points, he got 2 points from the strategy, so it's 6 to 4. Then Stefan gets another point for both of his schemes. He gets Detonate Charges on Sensei Yu, and he gets another point for Breakthrough because he has 3 markers in my deployment zone, so it's 6 to 6 right now. And then I get a point for Breakthrough because I too got 3 ski markers in his deployment zone, and the game ends 7 to 6. Another victory for the 10 Thunders. So we talked a bit about the game after it ended, and to summarize, we both enjoyed it. We both think that it's a great matchup for everyone to play because there's a lot of movement and a lot of ways to get on each other's nerves. I think it all hinged on the first activation round 1, where the Wandering River monk actually killed the Squealer, who was on his way to pick up one of the symbols of authority. But never mind, it was a close and tense game. I think you need more models to deal with that many picks or heavier hitters, and I think Stefan now is of the opinion that Sensei Yu sucks and Charm Warders are really awful if you play against them. So thank you for watching. If you like what you saw, please push the buttons to see our next videos, and I'll see you at the next Battle Reports.